A dream to some.
A nightmare to others!
But I will give you a message. A message of death!
Come on,
Make no attempt to capture them. They must be exterminated.
Matron, take them away! Stardust speaks to you.
How long were you alone with that dog?
I don't know, an hour and a half, maybe. What the hell are you looking at me like that for?
So, welcome back to our jolly day out at the Leeds Horror Film Festival. For the second film at the festival, we had John Carpenter's 1982 horror classic, The Thing. This film features a group of American scientists in an Antarctic research base who find themselves becoming hunted down by a shape-shifting alien life form that can assume and mutate the appearance of its victims.
This becomes the central premise of the movie as, one by one, the group start to succumb to the alien infection. As the tension and the body count rises, the increasingly paranoid survivors begin to turn on each other, rather than working together, as they desperately try to figure out who, if anyone, they can still trust. The film starts off innocently enough, although it's clear that the 12 men that are working and living in the research base have already been there for a very, very long time, and that cabin fever is starting to set in, as demonstrated here when Kurt Russell's character McCready shows us what rage quitting looked like in 1982.
The general peace and quiet is soon interrupted though, with the appearance of a dog being chased through the snow by a mad bloke in a helicopter, who is trying to blow up the poor hound.
He's obviously a cat person.
So, who are the American scientists going to trust in this situation? A cute doggy woggy, or some rad manting foreign gentleman with a gun that's already inadvertently shot one of their own party?
Well, there's your answer, folks. And also, funnily enough, this is also what happens to you when you watch too much internet porn. So, be warned.
This has been a public service announcement.
You're welcome.
This all ties into a brilliantly tense setup, combining science fiction, body horror, claustrophobic paranoia, and murder mystery in an isolated environment. It probably also explains that, despite considering myself a dog lover, I do have a mistrust of huskies. Shifty-looking buggers.
It's no wonder why The Thing has been praised as one of the best science fiction and horror films ever made, which has gained a cult following, although funnily enough it was considered as a critical and commercial failure when it was originally released.
It probably didn't help that Universal Pictures foolishly also released E.T. the Extraterrestrial to theatres at the same time, which was so successful at the box office that it completely overshadowed The Thing, to the point where the film didn't even receive any Oscar nominations. Which is crazy when you think about it, considering how amazing the performances of the cast and the special effects are. But thankfully, it would later get the attention it rightfully deserved when it finally came to home video, VHS and Laserdisc.
I should just point out very, very quickly for the younger viewers amongst us, VHS and Laserdisc, they're what happened before we had DVDs and Blu-rays.
That's for the benefit of Josh if he's watching.
Yes, yeah. There's a recognisable cast here, most notably Kurt Russell, that we have already mentioned, along with the likes of Keith David. There's a few familiar faces from earlier episodes of We Need to Talk About, including Wilford Brimley, who would later go on to appear in Remo Williams, Unarmed and Dangerous. We've got Thomas G. Waits, who appeared in The Warriors as the ill-fated Fox. Carpenter and Russell had previously worked together on Elvis and Escape from New York, and it certainly wouldn't be the last time they'd worked together either. It was Russell's work with Carpenter that really helped establish the former Disney child actor into the grizzled elder leading man that he would become in the 1980s and 90s. And whilst the two of them haven't worked together in over, 25 years, something like that, they remain good friends now. And Carpenter has even publicly expressed a desire to work with Russell again.
More on that later. John Carpenter's version of the story leaned closer to the original 1938 novel Who Goes There by John Campbell Jr. than what the original 1950s movie adaptation of the book The Thing from Another World did. although this was partly due to budget constraints, which meant that the shape-shifting element of the creature wasn't present in the original film.
Some sort of electricity-based creature.
Yes, and another difference was that the 1950s original had a team of people working together to defeat the alien monster.
Captain, I just thought of something. You said you were going to use kerosene again. You know anything better? Something hotter. We have enough cable to stretch to the greenhouse. Why not use electricity?
Whilst Carpenter's film does have a team of people, but they're tearing each other apart, literally and figuratively, as paranoia and fear set in.
I'd rather not spend the rest of this winter tied to this fucking couch!
I mean, one of the most notable scenes from the entire movie is when McCready explains his theory that every piece of the alien creature is an individual organism with its own survival instinct, which will react defensively when threatened. One by one, he tests everybody's blood with a heated piece of copper wire, forcing the monster to reveal themselves.
Not only is The Thing a remake, but in turn it has also been remade itself. Kind of. Although the 2011 version of The Thing is in theory a prequel, carefully making references to the 80s original, it is essentially just retreading the same plot, but with far less of the tension. The remake/prequel is very similar, yet it fails on virtually every level. It is somewhat of a shame, as it did at least introduce new ideas and designs to the creature, but it was a bit odd that, despite being a prequel, it had the exact same title as Carpenter's original, which I can't imagine did it many favours.
By far a more effective follow-up to the movie is the 2002 video game, which was released for the original Xbox, PS2 and PC, with the events in-game taking place several days after the events of the film. It's a third-person survival horror game that really does capture the claustrophobic tension of the original film, and it received plenty of favourable reviews at the time.
Unlike a lot of video game movie tie-ins at the time, the Thing video game is actually a really good one. And it manages to be genuinely scary at times. Carpenter himself endorsed the game and supported it during its release. So if you have got a dusty original Xbox or an old PS2 knocking about, give them a wipe down and look out for this game if you can find it. Oh, and the Warriors video game too whilst you're at it.
Yeah, definitely. Anyway, back to the film. As the body count continues to rise, McCready documents what is happening on a tape recorder, and at one point he manages to accurately describe the people that stayed until the end of the festival to watch The Virgin Witch.
Nobody trusts anybody now. We're all very tired.
Oh, I do like that.
Anyway, the imagination and the work that went into the creature effects is simultaneously nothing short of incredible and also deeply disturbing. The film was made a long time before CGI was a practical choice. So here we're getting actual puppets, prosthetics, blood, guts, slime that was made in a studio rather than on a computer, and it is so much more satisfying to look at than other movies in the genre that use CGI for their special effects. It still holds up extremely well today, and you know, sorry, but CGI, you can't compete with this.
Although the part where Norris's head becomes detached from the rest of his body, sprouts spider legs and scuttles off is meant to be horrifying, it actually did get a few laughs from the audience at the festival, especially after this line was said.
You gotta be fucking kidding.
Using practical effects also meant that Carpenter and his team had to get very creative with some of the death scenes, such as this moment where a character uses a defibrillator and it all goes, well, a bit messy. But rather than just having fake arms to wave around, a double was used who was actually a real-life amputee, and as a result the effect is so convincing that I genuinely didn't realise how they managed to achieve this until years later.
The Thing isn't really about the Thing. It's more about people that find themselves trapped in one location with an intermittent danger approaching and how they deal with this, for better or worse.
Why don't we just wait here for a little while? See what happens.
Funnily enough, John Carpenter recently made an appearance at the 2023 Texas Frightmare Weekend, where he teased the potential of a direct sequel to The Thing. Just imagine it. The film opens up with Kurt Russell and Keith David still sitting across from each other with comically long white beards, and Russell says, "Well, it's been 40 years now, I guess you aren't The Thing."
Why did you drink the gasoline then?
Well, just didn't want to be rude.
What's he doing there?
I've no idea. Let's just ignore him and maybe he'll go.
Right. So we've just finished watching The Thing. I think we were a bit loud at one point because we kind of got told off at one point.
I've just had a word with Dom just to say very, very sorry.
Very, very sorry. We got a little bit too excited.
But to be honest,
we did sort of shout along to the line, tied to this fucking couch. So.
There was that.
I mean, it was you that did that.
Well, yeah.
It was you that told us. Let's be honest. You're the one that got told off.
Well, yeah.
He looked at me.
He looked at you.
He looked at me.
Yeah. But he said, with respect, it means this whole table.
It was kind of nice. But it was.
On you guys, but he was already on his way out.
Oh, God. But to be honest with you, he came over and I said sorry, and he said, no, it's fine.
No, it was nice. Just calm down a bit, yeah.
Calm down a wee bit.
I think, to be honest, that might be the film where we get the most excited because
it's so bloody good.
It is so bloody good. It is so bloody good.
Let's be honest. We just watched John Carpenter's thing. John Carpenter is a genius. Right, this is kind of like giving the game away a little bit, just how much we really, really like this film. But it is. It's perfect.
It's perfect. It's perfect. And despite their bleak situation, all the sort of guys, all the characters involved sort of realise it's like, right, if we don't survive this thing, we need to make sure that the thing doesn't survive either. We need to make sure there's at least someone still around to make sure that it doesn't have a chance to freeze itself, that it doesn't have a chance to spread to the widespread population. And the ending is suitably bleak as well, because we get neither confirmation that the thing is actually dead, nor do we get any sort of kind of heroic, triumph. You're kind of left with an ambiguous ending that leads you to think what you've been thinking throughout the whole film. Who exactly can you trust?
Who it is. But yeah, absolutely perfect. One of the things, both with this film, with The Thing, and also with The Blow and Satan's Claw, the use of music.
Yeah.
The use of music on that. Now,
Enrico Morricone, the guy who did all those westerns. Plus, you've got additional material from Carpenter himself, Carpenter did some absolutely amazing sort of soundtracks.
Well, that's why I had to very, very quickly check, because I wasn't entirely sure. I knew that he worked with Morricone, but I wasn't too sure whether or not it was on this film or another film.
Yeah.
Because it's Morricone doing Ennio Morricone style music, but at the same time doing it as John Carpenter.
Yeah.
And John Carpenter's music is wonderful anyway, so check out some of his albums, which are superb. But that is
superb.
Just the whole, the kind of like the beat, the
dum. It's so simple, but it's so effective. So effective.
Yeah. So as you can probably guess, we're having a really, really nice time.
We are, but we're not quite done yet.
No.
Because do come back in part 3 for a little bit of this.
Strain hard. Fat, foul fiend, you know damn well you don't live here, your place is hell. Snarling, crawling, spitting Tom, growling, snarling, harder.